It's DMO Speaks, the master motivator, bringing the MIJ, the motivational, inspirational juice from the ATL to you. It's going to be fun. Are you ready for DMO Speaks? It's your host, Derrick Moore. Welcome to DMO Speaks at Atlanta's incredible radio, WIGO 1570 AM. You can also listen live or watch live on WIGOAM.com. That's WIGOAM.com. Brought to you by Perry Moore Entertainment in association with Phoenix Entertainment Group. We are bringing the MIJ, the motivational, inspirational juice to the ATL with the master motivator, DMO Speaks. It's your Atlanta Falcons in Brotherhood spokesperson. In Brotherhood we trust. Here for the next hour to provide you with all things motivational and inspirational. Coming to you every Monday, 12 to 1 p.m. I look forward to having lunch each and every Monday with the ATL. I want to take a moment and thank all of those who made it possible to bring this broadcast to the airwaves, especially WIGO 1570 AM, Atlanta's incredible radio. Program Director Jerome Lee, Producer Stephanie Perry Moore, Director of Photography Gary Booker, Station Manager Kevin Collins. But most importantly, you, our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Every Monday, we, the Master of Motivation, will cover 5 segments, 5 critical segments. The motivational moment. We set the tone of the show of DMO Speaks. Extra, extra, my very special guest in studio for an up-close and personal interview like you've never seen before. Championship Chase. I will have one of my longtime friends, Antonio London from the University of Alabama and former NFL great, on call to talk all things championship moves, titles. Call y'all. The most important part of the show, as I get to speak to you, my very important audience, as you call in to discuss your thoughts on how the theme of the show affects you personally. Get juiced! We'll recap the show with highlights guaranteed to get you juiced for your work week. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with DMO Speaks Motivational Moment. Welcome back to DMO Speaks. It's time for the motivational moment. Time to perform. Movies. They take us away from the real world for a few hours. You know, I don't know about you, but the hustle and bustle of life, the challenges and the unpredictability of personal circumstances and even events can wear us down, can cause us to be filled with anxiety and wear me out of life. Sometimes we struggle to find solutions and answers to our modern day problems. And you can go to television and you can go next door and find that there's trouble and struggle not only in my home but in my neighbor's home. And life in and of itself is a day-to-day rigor. It's a constant tug of war. It's a constant fighting to breathe and to exist. Meet deadlines and dates and duties and responsibilities that you have and I have and the world has. Is there a way to get away from it? Are there moments where we step away and breathe and recover and get back to the battle? there's no place like movies. The world of make-believe, creativity, imagination, a venture from our world to theirs, from costumes and makeup to voices that resonate, familiar tones and expressions of tremendous display of acting brilliance. We get to experience for 3 hours at the box office. It's Hollywood, where make-believe believes. Time to perform. No, the real world gives us real issues. The real world gives us real challenges. Just every now and then, isn't it good to be able to get away from my real world and escape to a world of make-believe, fantasy, and fiction? The Hollywood of the South, the ATL, Fast Five, The Blind Side, Ant-Man, Avengers Infinity War, and Venom, to name a few of Hollywood's best, right here in the ATL. The booming movie industry in Atlanta has captured the attention of the world, but it's the performance of actors that keep us at the box office. The likes of Robert Downey Jr., Samuel L. Jackson, Taraji P. Henson, and Jennifer Aniston entertain us for a few hours, pull us away from our real world problems and challenges, and take us to a world of fiction and make-believe. When the cameras begins to record, action happens, and the performance is remembered forever. When it's time to perform, they bring their A game. They are well prepared. It's showtime. And even the tickets aren't always cheap. When it's time for you to perform, are you ready to take the stage? Are you ready to move in front of the camera when the director says action? Are you at your best? It's movie time, a moment to escape the realities of life, a 3-hour experience that seemingly feels like it's forever. Hollywood of the South, the ATL. In our next segment, Extra, we have actor and voiceover artist Cedric Pendleton in studio. Welcome back to DMO Speaks. It's extra time. You know what that means, where I have my special in-studio interview with my special guest every Monday right here on DMO Speaks. And today I am fired up and excited about our very special guest in studio. Cedric Pendleton is live and in studio with DMO Speaks, talking all things Hollywood in the ATL and abroad. The LCA, lights, camera, action. Is that what the way they do it, Cedric, in Hollywood? Is that the way it happens?
Yeah, that's the way it happens.
That's the way it happens. Hey, thank you for joining me on DMO Speaks, and it's a real privilege and pleasure to have you in studio live with us, sharing your venture, your role, your experiences with our audience. So welcome aboard, man.
Man, thank you for having me, man. You know, you make a phone call and I show up, and that's the beautiful thing about the relationship that we have. So, you know, it's almost like family. So when family calls, you show up.
Wow.
So I appreciate you, giving me the opportunity to come support you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Born in Florence, Alabama.
Oh, don't talk about it.
I know some stomping grounds over in that neck of the woods.
Look, on a little dirt road.
A little dirt road.
Yep.
From a dirt road to pavement to asphalt. The asphalt jungle of the ATL, huh?
Hey, every time I step off into a Hollywood environment, I always say, boy, this ain't bad for a little country boy to come off a dirt road, you know?
Wow. So, you know, give us our listeners a little bit of insight on, you know, your experience in film and what that's meant to you, and even, you know, maybe a little bit on how you got your start.
Well, you know, the biggest thing is for me, everything stemmed from my mother. My mother was the beginning of all things creative for me. And so that's why I always encourage single mothers and mothers that are married to spend time with their children developing the creative sides of them. Because had it not been for that particular endeavor, I wouldn't be in the arts today. So neither would my brother. But the point being, when you start talking lights, camera, action, every time you say that, it always makes me think that you've got to be prepared, over-prepared, and then over-prepared.
Wow.
So when the lights are off, you are preparing. Then when the lights turn on, you are still preparing. And then when they say camera, you better be prepared. And when they say action, you truly have to perform.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, the interesting thing is that life has a tendency to turn you to and fro and go back and forth with you and jerk you around, but you got to be prepared. So when the opportunity hits, you hit.
You're ready.
Yeah.
Wow. So talk to me a little bit about some of those challenges, you know, the personal challenges, the pushback that you need to have when you know the performance there's a high premium on that, but the challenges you go through as an actor, you know, the ups, the downs, the turns, the twists, the setbacks, and how do you outperform that experience?
But I mean, it's like any high-level athlete, any high-level performer. You don't do it to satisfy others. You do it for your own gratification. And so, no matter how many times you fail, no matter how many times it appears that you don't succeed, no matter how many times people tell you you're not tall enough, you're not pretty enough, or you're too pretty, or you're not black enough, or you're not, you know, no matter what people tell you, you've got to have a true desire to do what it is that you feel like you're called to do. And for me, acting is a gift, and so I treat it as such. I don't take it for granted by any means. Every time I have the opportunity to stand in front of a camera, I really am appreciative for the opportunity to be able to do that. So, I don't know if I even answered your question.
I think you did. I certainly think our listeners got it too. And before we close out our time with you, can you tell us, you know, the movies and film and work you've done, whether it's a stage play or a comic or whatever it might be, what was probably one of your most enjoyable experience on one of the shows in which you played that you really thought you really had the time of your life doing that job?
Ooh, I don't know if I could sum it up into one particular thing, because the moment that I stand in front of an audience, or the moment that there is that nervous feeling in my gut, like, am I going to be good or am I not? I'm so thankful to even have the guts to go and try and go and fail and go and succeed. Because you know as well as I do that if you keep trying, eventually, like Shawshank Redemption, you keep trying, eventually you will break free. Eventually you will be a success in whatever it is you desire. And so for me, the projects that I am currently working on, those things are the things that motivate me. It's like what's next is what motivates me.
Oh, wow. How about that? You've done work with Tyler Perry in the past, and on some of his shows and some of his work. And, what was that like in the last 30 seconds here we have? Give us 30 seconds of what that experience was like for you.
Tyler pushes you to be your best all the time.
Wow.
So he gives you the opportunity to do what you do, but you better bring it when you get the opportunity to do it.
Lights, camera, action.
Lights, camera, action.
Perform.
You better be ready.
Wow.
You better be ready. Or either he'll replace you. It's a pleasure.
Cedric, thank you for coming on DMO Speaks. And I know this much. These shows I got to do going forward, I better bring my A game and perform.
Lights, camera, action.
Lights, camera, action. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Wow. Cedric Pendleton on DMO Speaks. Welcome back to DMO Speaks. It's championship chase time. You know what that means. Every team and every organization wants to rise to a champion's level. And today again, every Monday, right here in this awesome segment called Championship Chase, I have my very dear friend Antonio London on the phones, joining me every Monday for Championship Chase. And you might ask that what authority would Antonio London have when it comes to being a champion? Well, he won the 1992 National Championship there at the University of Alabama, Roll Tide Roll. And only he can communicate the excellence of playing for Coach Gene Stallings and all of those fantastic teammates he played with. Antonio London is live and on the phone in Championship Chase. Welcome aboard, Antonio.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
Thank you so much. You know, every time I hear championship, again, I can't help but think about your company, Championship Enterprises, there in Birmingham. Antonio, what an organization you have there. Can you just tell our viewers a little bit about your company in probably just about a minute and a half? Tell us what Championship Enterprises is all about there in Birmingham, Alabama.
Well, Championship Enterprise basically is what we want to do is what we say is consistently exceed all expectations. We are a facility service company, so we provide all types of services to any facility that you could possibly think of. Currently, we do janitorial services, we do security, both armed and unarmed. We also have a trucking division of the company where we run about 20 trucks for dump trucks, tri-axle. We also have some great big trucks in there, some dump trailers to go along with that. We also do pressure washing as well. We also have some GSD, ground support equipment. But I could go on and on and on, Mr. Moore, about what Championship Enterprise has allowed us to do as far as I should say more than anything else. But I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited about getting on with this segment.
Well, again, it's awesome having you on. You bring so much expertise to playing and performing at a high level. And in my segment is called Time to Perform. If anybody knows what it's like to perform at the highest level, you being a former NFL player for more than 8 years with the Lions and Green Bay Packers, you know what it's like to line up and try to stop somebody like Barry Sanders. Of course, I don't know if we ever did that, though. What do you think about that?
I don't know if anybody's ever done that.
I think you're right. No question about it. Antonio, when it comes to championships and when it comes to a champion's mentality, we talk about in the movie business, they talk about, performing when the lights go on, when the camera goes on, when the director says go, that actor comes to life, that character comes to life. They have that moment to perform at their highest level and really create a movie or messaging that audiences will be spellbound by. How does that translate in the world of sports, particularly those teams that perform at a level, or even corporate organizations or companies that perform at an outstanding level, and the returns for their organizations are incredible? Could you just highlight? And I remember walking through the tunnel in the NFL with you as my teammate in Detroit. We were walking to an LCA, a lights, camera, action moment. What is that like? And how important is performing when the lights are on?
Man, I'll tell you what, performing when the lights are on is an incredible thing. Just think about walking through that tunnel and listening to the roar of 100,000 people yelling and screaming. Some like you, some not like you. It really doesn't matter. You're just out there to do what you've come out there to plan to do. that's what's the most important thing about the whole thing to me is being able to perform when those lights on, baby, you better be able to do everything you can when the lights are off. That's when you get your best performance. When you put the work in, you know you've done all the things you can do. You sacrifice everything that you possibly can to get to the point that you want to be, and the lights on, and it's time to shine. And you know the good thing about it, when you put that light on, the spotlight's on you, it's one-on-one, ain't nothing anybody can say because the eye in the sky never lies.
Wow. You're telling me when the lights are off, that's really where the rubber meets the road, because when the lights come on, what's revealed when the lights were off is going to show up when the lights go on. Is that what you're telling me in this closing 30 seconds? Close that out for me.
We're both retired. Some was forced into retirement in my situation. But, you know, I chased the roar of that crowd for years, Mr. Moore. I chased it for years, doing everything I possibly do. I did pickup softball games. I did basketball games with the YMCA. I tried a little bit of tennis, racquetball, pool, you name it. As long as it was legal anyway. I tried chasing the roar of that crowd. But you know what really eased me with the roar of the crowd when I got to where I didn't chase that part of it no more, Mr. Moore?
Please tell me.
When I realized that I wasn't willing to do in the dark what needed to be done to shine when the light came on,
Wow.
I let it go.
Antonio, I'm going to close with that, because if that doesn't resonate with our audience, I don't know what will. That is absolutely spectacular. Thank you for calling in today and sharing these stories that I think are difference makers in the audience that I work with every day in the lives of people. Thank you again for calling in to DMO Speaks and being the key component to Championship Chase. Thank you, Antonio.
Thanks, man.
Take care.
All right.
Welcome back to DMO Speaks. Again, thank you so much. How about that Championship Chase? Antonio London, when the lights are off, he says that's when he know that whether he's working or not working, that when the lights come on, it's what happened when the lights were off that determines his motivation for when the lights are on. What a concept in Championship Chase. I hope you enjoyed that segment. Now it's time for Call Y'all. We've got this segment so special because I get to have my callers come in and share their thoughts about the theme for the day. Performing is the theme for this particular day at our show. And we have our first caller online live as we speak. I have Mr. Bryant Monday on call. Thank you for calling in, Bryant, and welcome to DMO Speaks.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Hey, we are thrilled to have you on board. I hope you've enjoyed the show thus far today, and thank you for taking time to call in. I love to, if you got any comment or question you'd like to ask DMO Speaks, I'll do my very best to respond to it, or maybe it's just a comment or question. But well, again, you let me know your reasons for calling.
Okay, first of all, let me say thanks for having me. I don't know if you remember how I met you, but I met you maybe in 2011. I was in a Georgia State football camp, and they said we have a guest speaker. And I didn't know who you were. And when you came out, I said, well, here go another long speaker. And man, when you open your mouth, you draw my attention to you. And ever since then, I've been just following you and watching you on YouTube and, just admiring everything you do.
Oh, wow, Brian. You never know who's in an audience, when I come out, and I remember that experience over at the campus, and certainly to know that you were out there and waiting to hear something and not knowing what you're going to hear. I don't always know or get comments from the people that I speak to, but every now and then there's somebody that reconnects with me, or somehow I get the word that they had a great experience and they were impacted by the words that I shared. Again, I can't thank you enough for reminding me that you can say a lot of things, but it's about the people who are listening, and they're either listening or they're not. You're either moving them or you're not. You're either making a difference in their lives or you're not. And it's obvious that that moment made a difference in your world, and I appreciate it 1,000%.
A quick question for you. I know you play football, and at some point, that football came to a end. And I'm having that problem with my son. He didn't play at the level that you played at, but he played on a college level. He got a chance to play pro ball, and it didn't work out for him. Now he's kind of moping around and don't know what his next move. I'm just trying to get him over that hump. I gave him my advice, but don't seem like it's working. So I'd rather try to get some advice from somebody else. Sometimes the kids don't listen to their parents. So what would you suggest to get that football out of his system so he can go on with the next chapter of his life?
Wow, what a question. I can certainly tell you this, that we all want to be sensitive to goals that are sometimes not attained, or we feel that we've come up short. I think mostly for him, he's feeling that he wasn't good enough, or he didn't feel like they missed something evaluating him, etc. But the reality of it is that at the end of the day, the only person that you got to be at peace with is the one you look at in the mirror. And every day you get up in the morning, you got to know that your value is grander and greater than playing sports or being on the field, even though you've done it for most of your life. The reality of it is that his young life is just starting. And that's just one experience that he's had. And the lessons from it are going to further help make him the man that he ultimately wants to become. And as he begins to see all around him that society is built and designed to have all kinds of experiences and opportunities, and it takes a little flushing that experience out of your system, and we'll give him that opportunity to do that. But I certainly think that at some point it will resonate that, the carnival is closing and people are going home, and it's time for me to go too and go on to what's next. The lights, the camera, the action piece of that. At some point, the movie stops and everybody goes home. And I don't care who you are, you won't play forever. It changes for everybody. Sometimes earlier, sometimes later, but it changes. And I know for a fact, Brian, that he will find his next thing. I can guarantee it.
Wow. I needed to hear that, and I got to share that with him.
Well, please do. Please do. Please do. And again, I want to thank you for calling into DMO Speaks, and I'll look forward to getting calls from you in the future.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for being here. And thank you. Carol is on the line. Thank you for calling in. Carol, we thank you so much for calling into DMO Speaks, and I'm looking forward to having this time with you. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to the show. We're excited about the show and where it's going, but it's all about our audience, our listeners, our callers, and again, I deeply appreciate you taking the time to call in.
You are welcome. Thank you for taking my call.
You betcha. What do you have for me today, Carol?
So, I'm a retired teacher, and I'm back at the school working part-time. I'm 54 years old, and I just have this constant stirring. I feel like there's something else out there. There's something more for me to accomplish, and I just can't decide how to find the direction. Where do I go? How do I decide? And what track do I take? So I'm open-ended. I just would love some advice on that.
Well, what a great question, and it sounds like you certainly have really been sort of really thinking this through and considering all of these things. I do first want to say to anyone that's in education and what teachers do on behalf of our young people, our students, is exemplary. And I appreciate you taking on the exciting venture of teaching and educating what is in fact our very future. So thank you for what you do with our students.
You're more than welcome. It has been a wonderful time. This is 34 years now, and it's been great.
That's incredible.
There's something else out there. I just don't know what it is.
Wow. You know, I often tell people, they ask me, they say, DMO, what's next?
Right.
You know, isn't that an interesting question, what's next? We don't always know that. But I get the sense that, you know, there's one more stop I need to make. And until I make that stop, I probably won't rest well until I know what it is and then I'm exposed to what it is. I certainly think that it's important to know that your passions will always lead you. If you're getting up in the morning and it's on your mind, it's on your heart, that's something, typically, and at some point, it will resonate what specifically it is. Because the passion and the craving and appetite and drive in us causes us to search so deeply that we eventually discover and find out exactly what it is. It never not comes to surface. You eventually will find out what that very thing is. But the neat thing is that you've discovered that there is something else that you are seeking. And I am confident as long as that desire exists, you eventually will walk right into the very next stop that's ahead for you.
Great. Absolutely wonderful. And it is. It's on my mind daily. And it's just finding that niche, finding what is it that I'm searching for or what is looking for me. So thank you so much.
And I love that because you know what? A lot of times if we don't find it, it finds us.
Yes, and we'll see. I have faith that something's going to come along. And I guess I just got to give it time and not force it. Since right now I'm just kind of open up. I'm waiting. I'm listening. I'm looking, and I appreciate so much your encouragement.
Well, you are tremendously. I appreciate you taking the time to call in and really chime in and help us further connect with our callers. Again, thank you so much, Carol. We appreciate you so much. I look forward to you now calling next week and the week after that and become one of our famous and most recognizable voices on the show.
Sounds great. Thank you so much and have a great afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
And our next caller is Kim from Milledgeville, Georgia. Kim, welcome to DMO Speaks.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, it's a real honor to have you on our show. Thank you for listening in and calling in and giving us an opportunity to share and discuss and talk with our very important listeners. I really do appreciate it.
You are always welcome.
Excellent. Well, Kim, tell us what you're calling in regards to. We'd love to entertain your thoughts or comments or questions.
Okay, first let me say congratulations on your new show. And my question would be, how do you balance it all with performing? And that's something that I struggle with because I have a big vision and there's a lot of things I want to do. So how do you balance all of that and still feel energized and not appear to be tired?
So, what a question, man.
Is what I'm asking.
Yeah. You know, I think the balancing act is always a tricky proposition. You know, how much is too much and how much is not enough. And typically we go through life not wanting to be stretched and strained too much on one end and not enough on the other. Or we have what we call diminishing returns. So it's important to seek that balance. But then at the same time, what are we giving ourselves to? And typically the things that we love, that we're passionate about, that we are really good at. I often tell people that I enjoy doing the things that I'm really good at. I'm not as comfortable doing things that I'm not so good at, even though I need to do some of those kinds of things. But then all of that requires a level of energy and output that is valuable to getting it done. But I'll leave you with a quote that someone told me years ago that I think is important. That if your output exceeds your intake, then your upkeep will be your downfall. I absolutely love that. If your output exceeds your intake, then your upkeep will be your downfall. Very important to balance. If I'm putting out, I've got to constantly be putting back in. So if I'm going to remove something, I've got to replace it with something. And I don't ever want to be imbalanced where my output exceeds my intake, and as a result, the very thing I'm trying to keep up is the thing that actually comes to my downfall. So it's important to monitor how much you give to something, and then how much is taken from you, but then how much of that is replaced, replenished, you're re-energized, and you're ready to go back to the task at hand. So I'll leave you with that, but it's one of my very favorite quotes that I learned a lot of years ago.
Okay.
Yes.
That sounds good. I just know that's one of the things I struggle with, because I love the things that I do, and sometimes I find myself canceling certain events because I can't perform at my greatest because I feel that I overextended myself.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us do that. You got to know how much, what's important, what's most important, what carries the greatest level of value, and give yourself to that. While at the same time not abandoning those other things that might be important, but we put things on our list of most important and least important, and we try to address those things that are right in front of us, that are most important to get done, and to accomplish and to experience. So keeping a real close eye on the chronological order in which you're trying to get things accomplished is very, very essential.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Well, you are the best for calling in, and thank you for tuning in to DMO Speaks. And every Monday between 12 and 1, we'll be taking calls and talking to our very important audience. Thank you so much, Kim, for calling.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Bye-bye. And on our call segment, Call Y'all, we have Ben from Troy, Alabama. Hello, Ben.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing fantastic. Ben, thank you for calling into the DMO Speak Show. And I appreciate you taking the time to listen to our show on Mondays from 12 to 1. And particularly, I'm excited that you called into this very special segment where I get to answer questions from our very important listeners, or hear any comments you might have about the show. So Ben, I'm all ears. I'm listening in.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you, and then I'm grateful that you have me on your show. I just want to congratulate you on your endeavors and everything you're initiating within the community.
I appreciate that. That means the world. Thank you so much for reaffirming and supporting the show and the work we do in the Atlanta, greater Atlanta area.
No problem. So basically, I'm calling into the show. I just wanted to get some advice on the topic of staying motivated after being turned down multiple times, chasing your careers and your dreams. And I'm a recent graduate from Troy University, and I have a broadcast journalism bachelor's degree, and I'm just trying to get my foot into the door of the pathway of broadcasting, and my passion is in radio, and I just want to see how can I stay motivated after being turned down countless opportunities and moments.
Wow. Ben, I first want to say congratulations on graduating from Troy University and getting your degree in broadcast journalism, and the media market is an amazing experience, and I feel very confident about your academic endeavors and what you invested at Troy. I want you to know that wasn't in vain, that what you invested, you'll get a return on that investment. You put the work in, you put the labor in, you went through the curriculum, you stayed up at night preparing and studying, got up early in the morning, and got to the studio, got to the labs. You did the work. No one else did it. You did the work. And that work means something. I don't want you to think that that work doesn't mean something. It means something to you, but I can promise you it means something to the future employer that you're going to land in your very near future. That's going to happen. It's going to happen. It has to happen. It will happen. I will say that to stay motivated is to be convinced that, you know, you were given that experience for a reason. You didn't just stumble into deciding that you would go after this career endeavor. And I often say, you know, if others before me have traveled this path, eventually were hired by some employer and now are living out the dream of their career, so too will be. Your time and hour, your day, your moment will come. But here's what you can't do. You can't stop believing that. And you can't stop exercising your convictions and taking the practical steps to be sure that everything that you send out is on point. Every call you make, you're prepared for those calls. Every resume you submit, it's refined and at its highest level when it comes to being able to read through it and understand and know who Ben is without even talking to Ben. Make sure the practical things are executed at a high level. And be ready and willing to receive whatever that first opportunity is going to be. Because you know what? Everybody's got to start from somewhere. And I don't know anyone that didn't get a start. If it's out there, the opportunity to do it exists. Stay intrinsically motivated. Don't just look for external motivators to keep you going. Know that what's in you, the things that cause you to pursue this dream, are the very things that will promote the enthusiasm and the optimism that you need to make it from one caller to the next caller, from one opportunity to interview and to go after your opportunity from one to the other. So stay positive. Don't give up on it. Hey, someone told me in this example, and I close out, a swimmer swimming a 50-meter stroke. It's interesting that sometimes some swimmers look up and realize that had they kept their head in the water and didn't look up, they had one more stroke before they touched the wall to win the event. Ben, your next opportunity is one stroke away. And what I'm challenging you with is don't look up out of the water. Just stroke, Ben. Keep stroking, and eventually you're going to get what you're looking for.
Wow. I'm just so grateful and so appreciative, man, of what you just said and what you just put in my life. It was just a determining factor to help me persevere in my endeavors and my future career goals. And I appreciate you so much.
Man, you're welcome. Thank you so much for calling in on DMO Speaks, and I look to hear from you more in the future. Thank you, Ben.
Anytime. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Welcome back to DMO Speaks. What a show we've had today. I can tell you this, if I recap today's show, what some just incredible callers. How about Antonio London calling from Birmingham, Alabama, telling us about performing in the night when the lights are not on, and then that validating whether or not he can perform when the lights are on. What a brilliant comment he made. How about that last segment with Ben from Troy? Just a young man just graduating from college. And I can tell you, for college students all over the country, the anxiety of finishing that 4-year experience and now trying to get gainfully employed and looking back and seeing all the work you put in to transition from the 4-year college experience now to what we call the real world, and how do I get out there and compete for jobs and opportunities, and it can be frustrating when you graduate and nothing's in hand, but I was just so moved by Ben's comments and just hearing him talk about this opportunity that he's had to finish his undergraduate work, and now he's looking to move forward in his career. And I know there's students all over the country that feel like Ben feels, but I can encourage you today by saying that you didn't go there for 4 years for nothing. And there's a place in the workforce, in your field, in the chosen career you put your finger on. And your opportunity is coming. If mine came 1,000 years ago, yours will come today. Just keep stroking. You might be closer than you ever imagined you were. I just appreciate having that conversation with Ben. How about motivational moment? What a moment of performing in the LCA, the lights, camera, action, and hearing what movie people do, and the ATL in the Hollywood of the South, and Cedric Pendleton in studio. Was he awesome or what? That we had live in studio this great actor who's been on some of the biggest stages in the world and came on DMO Speaks today just to talk with our listeners or at least speak about his career to our listeners. Just a special show. And I want you to know something, that every week we're going to have some exemplary guests from all walks of life that's going to join us and share their real life experiences that might make a difference in the journey you're taking in your own life. So please stay tuned every Monday from 12 to 1 as we come to you live with DMO Speaks. Thank you again for being a part of the show. And I want to close the show out with our final segment called Get Juiced. And that's an opportunity just to recap the show in this real montage of an episode of the experiences of DMO Speaks today. Thank you so much for joining me. Tune in next Monday from 12 to 1 for DMO Speaks. It's guaranteed to be fire. Thank you again. See you next Monday. The passion and the craving and appetite and drive in us causes us to search so deeply that we eventually discover and find out exactly what it is. When it comes to championships and when it comes to a champion's mentality, we talk about in the movie business, we talk about, performing when the lights go on, when, that actor comes to life and they have that moment to perform at their highest level. Your time and hour, your day, your moment will come. But here's what you can't do. You can't stop believing that. And you can't stop exercising your convictions and taking the practical steps to be sure that everything that you send out is on point. When it's time for you to perform, are you ready to take the stage? Are you ready to move in front of the camera when the director says action? Are you at your best?